What's up, YouTube? Here with another episode of Talk Wrestling. On this episode, I'll be giving y'all my reviews on the latest professional wrestling events. And the first event that I'm going to be giving y'all my review on is Bash at the Berlin. And that was the last WWE premium live event, the first one ever that happened and was hosted in Germany. And this was a successful event, a solid wrestling show overall. And this is how I do my reviews for pro wrestling videos. I give every match that happened on the card a match rating out of a 5. And to sum up the overall pay-per-view event review, I have a 10-point rating system for the overall event. Now, without any further ado, let's get to the reviewing part. The opening contest to Bash at the Berlin was for the WWE Universal title. Cody Rhodes defending his WWE Universal title versus Kevin Owens. Now, these two have a shared history and they have a friendly alliance because they share a same rival, that being the Bloodline, and they fought hand in hand against the Bloodline. And for Kevin Owens to get a title shot for the WWE title versus Cody Rhodes, who is an ally of his, was a intriguing factor to this opening contest to Bash at the Berlin. And when you have a wrestler that wrestle at the caliber of both Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, you're bound to have a high quality match, and that's exactly what we got. And this match that we saw between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens was the right opening match to a pay-per-view event. And this opening contest set the pace of the rest of the show, and the chemistry that these two have, because they had often worked with each other, hence why they put on such a good match. I give this overall match a rating of a 4 out of a 5, and that does sound quite, I say, generous on my part as being a wrestling reviewer. And for me to give such a high rating for this match is quite, I'm not going to say controversial, but a lot of people can disagree as to why I give this match such a high rating. But I thoroughly enjoyed this match that both Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes put on. And there was good storytelling in this match as well. And we saw Cody Rhodes sell a knee injury and Kevin Owens take the righteous route and not take advantage of Cody Rhodes. And we know Kevin Owens throughout his whole professional wrestling career, before he even signed to the WWE. And when Kevin Owens hesitated with that killer instance to go in on Cody Rhodes' injury, that didn't take a toll on the match, but it gave Cody Rhodes a break to catch a breather on the outside of the ring when he escaped to the outside to give himself time to recuperate his knee injury. And then Kevin Owens would later go on to later attack the injured knee of Cody Rhodes and take advantage of that injured knee. And Kevin Owens was working thoroughly on that knee. That was the target of Kevin Owens throughout majority of the match. And how this match went, it was a good back and forth match. Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes went back and forth. Both Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes had hit their finishers, both kicking out of their finishers, false finishes. And then Cody Rhodes would hit yet another crossroads for him to close in on the match. And when Cody Rhodes closed in on the match and was successful at retaining his WWE Universal title, Kevin Owens would show his respect to Cody Rhodes and they would shake hands. And Kevin Owens, much like Cody Rhodes, has a similar story of chasing that goal, that WWE Universal title. And Kevin Owens, unlike Cody Rhodes, when he returned to the WWE, he first started a rivalry with Seth Rollins when he returned to the WWE at WrestleMania 38. And then, unfortunately for Cody Rhodes, he injured himself. And y'all know he was out for almost a year. And then he came back next year at the Royal Rumble, won that, and then got to challenge Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal title at WrestleMania 39. And he was unsuccessful, but then he would be able to win and capture the WWE Universal title at WrestleMania 40 this past April and close in on that story. And Kevin Owens has that similar story. He was in a heated, intense rivalry versus Roman Reigns in hopes to capture that same title. And even before Roman Reigns reigned with his historical, legendary WWE Universal title, he was chasing that goal still back then. It's been 8 years since Kevin Owens last held a WWE World title. And for Kevin Owens to challenge for that same title that he's been chasing for so long versus Cody Rhodes, and that was a refreshing factor because we're so used to seeing Kevin Owens challenge Roman Reigns as well as Cody Rhodes before Cody Rhodes became the WWE Universal Champion. And it was good to see a babyface versus babyface for the WWE Universal title, and they produced a heck of a match at Bash at Berlin. And the next match on the card we saw was for the women's tag team titles, the Unholy Union versus Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. Remember, it was, I believe, King and Queen of the Ring, where the Unholy Union won that tag team title from Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. And it was Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill getting their rematch at the tag team titles versus the Unholy Union, and they were successful at capturing back and gaining that tag team titles that they lost this summer at Bash at the Berlin. And this was a mediocre match. This was decent, good back and forth action, good pace that we saw, and Jade Cargill hit her finisher to capture the tag team titles once again for her and Bianca Belair. And I'll give this match a rating of a 2.5 out of a 5. Then the next match on the card was a strap match for what has been the most intense and heated rivalry, in my opinion, that the WWE has got going on right now. And that's the feud between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. At SummerSlam, we saw Drew McIntyre defeat CM Punk in a controversial fashion. And that was a good, solid match that we saw at SummerSlam for their first official match between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. And then this was a special stipulation match that we saw at Bash at the Berlin. And CM Punk won this match. CM Punk is still undefeated when it comes to strap matches. And this was the same physicality that we saw at SummerSlam, that same back and forth heated action that we saw at SummerSlam between these two fierce rivals, but we saw weapons involved. And even though weapons were involved in this match because this was a gimmicked match, but that same intensity action that we saw at SummerSlam was seen again at Bash at the Berlin. And we saw, unlike at SummerSlam, CM Punk do a blade job and bleed in this match. And Drew McIntyre, how this match started before the straps were placed on the wrist of both wrestlers, Drew McIntyre went straight at CM Punk before Punk could even enter the ring in that typical heel fashion. And Drew McIntyre is one of the best heels that the WWE has got going on right now. And how he has made this so personal for CM Punk has added to that heated factor to his heel momentum. And this is why Drew McIntyre has got to be one of the best characters that the WWE has got going on right now. And CM Punk, the way how y'all know his charisma level and his ability to sell storylines is top tier level. And CM Punk, when he sells that personal factor between this rivalry that he and Drew McIntyre got going on, he sells it in the most typical cliche babyface fashion where it's not so corny. And that's what makes this rivalry so good. And the match produces and it backs that rivalry of CM Punk and Drew McIntyre because the action that they produce when they have a match is where the build to the match is as well. That's why this rivalry that CM Punk and Drew McIntyre got going on has the longevity that it has. And they've done a tremendous job at building this rivalry, this feud between Punk and McIntyre. And the match itself was top tier. And I'll give this match a rating of a 4 out of a 5. And how this match finished at Bash at the Berlin was perfect. Drew McIntyre had that bracelet that CM Punk holds on to so very much dearly that has his dog and his wife's name on it. And y'all gotta love how this storyline aligns, because y'all look at how Drew McIntyre chased that World Heavyweight title for so long and got to capture it at the biggest stage of them all at WrestleMania. And CM Punk, who was doing announcing duties, cost him that same world title. And that was what? Drew McIntyre's 20 seconds of fame, of having that glorious moment of winning a world title in front of a live audience. And when he got to show off to his bitter rival CM Punk that he got to capture that world title, and then CM Punk, because Drew McIntyre was talking all that crap, cost him that world title that he worked so hard for. And then that's what would cause Damian Priest, who was the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, to successfully cash in that Money in the Bank to take that world title from Drew McIntyre. And then that's what made Drew McIntyre ultimately take that bracelet, which is a prized possession of CM Punk, from CM Punk, just as when CM Punk took that prized possession, that World Heavyweight title from Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. Y'all see how that aligns? And then that storyline is picture perfect. And CM Punk got to capture back that same bracelet that Drew McIntyre took from him, much like how CM Punk took that world title from Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. Not that CM Punk got to become the world champion, but CM Punk costed Drew McIntyre that world heavyweight title at the grandest stage of them all. And how this match finished, and how the storytelling was displayed and showcased at Bash at the Berlin was put together and choreographed perfect, and the match itself was choreographed perfect as well, hence why this match gets such a high rating. And the action was very well, thoroughly choreographed. The chemistry was there, and the hardcoreness was there as well. And it was just a very well put together match that we saw at Bash at the Berlin. And the next match on the card we saw was a mixed tag team match between the Judgment Day, represented by Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan, versus Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. Both Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley having betrayed by the Judgment Day. Damian Priest was the only original member from the Judgment Day, and it both happened at SummerSlam, where Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest was betrayed by the Judgment Day. And they wanted vengeance on Judgment Day for the Judgment Day turning their backs on Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest. And to be honest, to a lot of fans, both Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley were the strongest members in the Judgment Day. Y'all look at both Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest's accomplishments. They were both the world champions that represented the Judgment Day, hence why they was like the leaders to the Judgment Day. And the Judgment Day had to say otherwise, and that was shown at SummerSlam when Dominic Mysterio turned on Rhea Ripley to align itself with Liv Morgan, helping Liv Morgan retain her women's title by defeating Rhea Ripley. Dominic Mysterio supplanted to where it made it look as if it was accidental, but then here later on revealed that it was done on purpose by kissing Liv Morgan, showing that it wasn't accidental as to why he took the chair away from Rhea Ripley. That helped aid Liv Morgan retain that women's world title. And then Finn Balor, who looked as if he was helping aid Damian Priest during his match versus Gunther in his defense of his world title, then he later on revealed that he was ringside to cost Damian Priest that world heavyweight title by placing Gunther's foot on the bottom rope when Damian Priest had the match secured, and it looked as if Damian Priest was going to win that match versus Gunther. But then Finn Balor placing Gunther's foot on the bottom rope, that was a clear indicator that Finn Balor was there to turn on Damian Priest. And SummerSlam was the turn of the Judgment Day. And then that's what started this rivalry between Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley and the Judgment Day. And this was the first official match between those two rivals. And Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley won this match. And this match was a good match. I'll give this match a rating of a 3.5 out of a 5. Good action, good back and forth pace of a match that we saw produced out of this tag team match. And even though the Judgment Day helped aid Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley still was able to win this match. And there was common comedic factors that was displayed in this match. As y'all know, when the Judgment Day was beefing with Rey and Dominic Mysterio, Rhea Ripley was tormenting Dominic Mysterio, and how Rhea Ripley torment Dominic Mysterio would be when she would choke Dominic Mysterio with her legs, and we haven't seen that in a long time because kayfabe-wise, Dominic Mysterio was the boyfriend of Rhea Ripley, and Rhea Ripley brought back that chokehold to Dominic Mysterio during this match. And Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley was able to fight off the Judgment Day when the Judgment Day decided to interfere in this match. And that was a non-factor because both Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest fought the Judgment Day off. And this match was a good match, as I said. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to produce out of this rivalry on Monday nights. And then the next match was the main event for the World Heavyweight title, Gunther versus Randy Orton. And this was the rematch to the final match at King and Queen of the Ring. Gunther won the King of the Ring this year by defeating Randy Orton in a controversial fashion. And how Gunther won was via a roll-up, and Randy Orton, his shoulders were not pinned to the mat for the 3 count when Gunther rolled him up. Hence why that match ended in a controversial manner. That's why there was a rematch at Bash at Berlin between Orton and Gunther, this time for the World Heavyweight title. And Gunther's victory over on Randy Orton at King of the Ring was the reason as to why Gunther got a shot at SummerSlam for the World Heavyweight title. And because Randy Orton didn't lose or shouldn't have lost to Gunther at King of the Ring the way he did, is to why this match happened at Bash at Berlin. And the match itself, I say, was a better match than they had at King and Queen of the Ring this past June. And they had more time and they got to learn each other's style at King and Queen of the Ring. Hence why there was better chemistry this time at Bash at Berlin. And I'm quite sure Gunther, even though he's not from Germany, Gunther is actually from Austria. And I know geographically speaking how Europe is. You can travel, if you are in Europe, from one country to another by taking public transportation. For example, you could go from France to Spain by taking the train. Hence why Austrian fans could travel to Germany like traveling from Los Angeles to San Diego. That's how close European countries are, even though they're different countries. And this was the first PLE event that was hosted in Germany, and WWE had their first PLE in France. And as I have mentioned before, Austrians could have went to France to support Gunther if Gunther was featured at Backlash this past May, but Gunther wasn't featured at Backlash this past May, and that event was hosted in France, and Gunther being a Austrian wrestler and him having a main event match versus Randy Orton, a high status wrestler, a future Hall of Famer, and Gunther, as I have said, if he was to be featured at Backlash this past May, he could have easily had a main event match where WWE held a event in France because, as I have mentioned, geographically speaking, European countries are so close to each other that wherever that PLE event is being held at and can come out to show their enthusiasm for whatever event is being held. And for Gunther to have this main event match was a homecoming treatment. And the match itself was a high quality, high caliber match. And as I have said, from their previous match at King and Queen of the Ring, they were able to build chemistry and learn each other's style. Hence why they put on a better match at Bash at the Berlin. And I'll give this match a rating of a 3.5 out of a 5. Gunther was successful at retaining his World Heavyweight title, and he put on a sleeper hold on Randy Orton. Randy Orton did his best to fight out of that chokehold, but Randy Orton, even to his best ability, couldn't fight out of Gunther's sleeper hold. He passed out. He went out like a champion. He didn't tap out. He did not submit, but he fell asleep to that sleeper hold that Gunther had put onto him. And the match itself, as I have said, was a good match. And for this match to get a 3.5 out of a 5 speaks volume. And as I have said, good back and forth action. And the overall pay-per-view event rating that I'll give Bash at the Berlin is a good 7 out of a 10. And the next event that I'll be giving y'all my review on, moving on from the WWE to AEW now. Let's talk about AEW's biggest stage, and that is AEW All In. And AEW, for the second consecutive year, held their All In event at Wembley Stadium in London, England, and it wasn't as of a successful big event as the first All In, and AEW did announce that their next All In is going to be held in America, and it's going to be in Jacksonville, Florida, which is where AEW's headquarters is, and I believe it's going to be where the Jacksonville Jaguars play. And I don't know if AEW is going to have that same turnout of a event at Jacksonville, Florida, as they can do in London, England, because England, Europe overall doesn't get as much frequent shows being held as often as America. Hence why whenever there's a premium live event in Europe, there tends to be more of a successful ticket sale number when compared to America. And don't get it wrong, AEW's second All In was a successful event. If they are able to put butts in seats at a football stadium like Wembley, then it's a successful event. And let's talk about the opening contest to AEW All In. It was a trios title match that was competed in a ladder match with BCC represented by Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Pac versus the Bullet Club versus House of Black versus Christian Cage and Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne. And this was the proper opening contest to a PLE. And a gimmick match, like a ladder match, is a perfect tone setter, a perfect pacemaker to get the crowd's enthusiasm curbed up for the rest of the event. And we saw BCC win this match, and I'll give this match a rating of a 3.5 out of a 5. And there was obviously highlight reel spots in this match. You're bound to have highlight reel spots in this match when it comes to gimmick matches like a ladder match. And there was also comedic entertainment factors that was displayed in this match as well. Of course, Christian Cage, him being the heel that he is, had his goons take on the action for this match, and him running away from the action. And then when he get tossed out from the ring onto the outside, all the participants that was involved in this match jump on Christian Cage. And then there was tables involved in this match. There was high-flying spots involved in this match. And y'all could go check out the highlight clips for yourselves. And y'all could see all the highlight reel spots that was displayed in this match. I'll take all day giving y'all the review of the highlight reel spots that was shown in this match. And then the next match on the card we saw was for the AEW Women's title, Mariah May versus Toni Storm. Mariah May used to be the sidekick to Toni Storm until Mariah May decided to turn on Toni Storm. It was a hardcore, brutal turn heel moment for Mariah May, and she had made that high heel shoe her symbolic sign, because that's what she used as a weapon to turn on Toni Storm. And she used that as a signature to say that that's what she had made Toni Storm, and that's how she's got her name. And she carries that same high heel shoes, and she carries that with her to display that character about her. And Toni Storm, even though she's the champion, she was looking to get vengeance on Mariah May. And how this match turned out was a hill climber for Mariah May, because Mariah May was successful at capturing the women's title by defeating Toni Storm to become the AEW Women's Champion. And this match itself was a good match, good back and forth match. Mariah May showing her heel character by slapping, I believe that was Toni Storm's mother, that was in attendance ringside watching the event. And that is how a heel can catch typical heat. It's been done before, but that is the cliche way. I'm not going to say it's cheap or corny, but that is a easy way to get heat from the crowd. And for Mariah May to do that was, I say, a good move on the part of AEW. Makes it more personal for that rivalry. And I don't know if they're continuing that rivalry, because if y'all saw All Out, we didn't see Mariah May versus Toni Storm. And Mariah May got her career-defining moment victory by defeating Toni Storm at All In, which is the biggest event. That is AEW's equivalency to WrestleMania. And this match, I'll give a rating of a 3 out of a 5. And that's me being generous for me to give a 3 out of a 5 for this match, because the action was mediocre. It was decent. It's generous, as I said, for me to give a 3 out of a 5. I'm only giving a 3 out of a 5 because of the storytelling and that heel work that Mariah May was putting in throughout this match. And then the next match on the card we saw was for the FTW title. This match was a hardcore match. No disqualifications, no count out, and Chris Jericho was the defending FTW champion. And you gotta appreciate Chris Jericho's ability to always rejuvenate his character. He went from the demigod to the painmaker to the sports entertainer to he's had many different characters, and now he's got this corny learning tree character, but it works though because of how comedic and corny this character is. And Jericho plays this character off so well that it's entertaining. And Hook, he's been fighting the odds because Chris Jericho has Big Cass and Brian Keith by his side, and both Brian Keith and Big Cass was involved in this match because this match was under a no disqualification and no count out rules. And to even out the odds, well, it wasn't really evening out the odds because Taz only got involved near the end of the match when he put that Taz mission on the Brian Keith to neutralize the numbers. And Big Cass was taken out when Jericho accidentally hit him with the stick when Big Cass was attempting to enter the ring. And when Jericho hit Big Cass with that stick, Big Cass was taken out when he went through the table. And then that had evened out the odds for Hook. And Hook on that Taz mission on the Chris Jericho, forcing Chris Jericho to tap out, helping Hook to gain the FTW title once again. And I'll give this match a rating of a 3 out of a 5. Then the next match was a triple threat match for the AEW Tag Team titles. The Young Bucks defending their AEW Tag Team titles versus FTR and the Acclaim. This was a good match, good back and forth action that we saw out of these three teams. And I'll give this match a rating of a 3 out of a 5. And the Young Bucks were successful at defending their AEW tag team titles. They got the win after hitting their finisher on, I believe it was a member of the Acclaimed, and I'm not quite too sure if it was a roll up, but all y'all gotta know is that the Young Bucks was successful at defending their AEW tag team titles, and the match itself was a good match. And when you have a team like the Young Bucks and a team like FTR, who are reputable and has earned the reputation of being a high quality, pure wrestling tag team, you're bound to have a classic clinical wrestling match when you have teams like the Young Bucks and FTR involved in it, and the Acclaimed, who are homegrown talent from AEW, who are still young and up and coming and are still considered prospects, even though they shouldn't be, because they're former tag team champions and they've proven themselves over and over again, and they can hang with the best of them as proven before. And if they can hang with the best of them, that means obviously that the Acclaimed are amongst the elites when it comes to the tag team division in all of pro wrestling. And we've seen FTR and Young Bucks put on classic wrestling tag team matches before, and the Acclaim to share the spotlight with FTR and the Young Bucks had to been a career accomplishing, defining moment for them. And the Acclaims had multiple career defining moments, such as when they won tag team titles, and they've had multiple matches with accomplished tag teams like the Young Bucks and FTR before. And then the next match on the card we saw was a casino match, a casino gauntlet match, and this was for a contract for whoever wins the casino gauntlet match for a guaranteed future world title shot. And Christian Cage, even though we saw him compete earlier for the trios title, he won this match because him and both Luchasaurus was involved in this gauntlet match, and Luchasaurus looked as if he was going to turn on Christian Cage. And this has been done before, where Luchasaurus looked as if he was going to turn on Christian Cage and go on his own, but then Luchasaurus would chokeslam, what's his name, Kyle O'Reilly, onto, I don't know who it was. I think it was, I don't know, Okada or whoever it was. He chokeslammed a wrestler onto another wrestler, and that's how Christian Cage got the pin to win this casino gauntlet match. And now Christian Cage has earned himself a spot to guarantee himself a future world title shot. And I'll give this match a rating of a 3 out of a 5. Then the next match we saw was for the TBS title. Mercedes Moné defending her TBS title versus Britt Baker. And Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné are workhorses in all of women's wrestling. Both Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné have a reputation of being top-tier talent when it comes to female wrestling. And for them to have a match for the TBS title at AEW's biggest stage had to been a feel-good moment for both Baker and Moné. And the match itself was a good match, good back-and-forth action, and I'll give this match a rating of a 3 out of a 5. And Mercedes Moné got the victory, and You know what? I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna give this match a rating of a 3.5 out of a 5, because the comedic factor, the entertainment factor that was displayed in this match, and that's a valuable aspect that pro wrestling has to always put in there. And as y'all know, Mercedes Moné, her favorite wrestler growing up was Eddie Guerrero. And y'all look at her finisher, that's the Gory Bomb, and that's how she got the victory over on Britt Baker in this match. And Britt Baker displayed that Eddie Guerrero factor by throwing that title onto Mercedes Moné's companion, forcing the referee to kick out Mercedes Moné's sidekick that was accompanying Mercedes Moné, as she always does. And I thought that was a hilarious factor that was displayed in this match. Then the next match that we saw was a coffin match for the TNT title between Jack Perry and Darby Allin. And this match was a good match. I'll give this match a rating of a 3.5 out of a 5. We saw good hardcore action, good back and forth pace, good chemistry between these two wrestlers. They both got a hybrid style, hence why we was able to see a good match produced out of these two. And I like how this match finished. Jack Perry's got a dark character about him, and he displays that character very well. And how Jack Perry won this match in his defense of his TNT title, where he was successful. He bagged up Darby Allin in a black plastic bag and carried him to the coffin and closed the coffin. And Jack Perry also did a good job at displaying his heel character by duct taping the hands of Darby Allin, handicapping Darby Allin, and Darby Allin, being the underdog that he is, still was able to fight off Jack Perry despite the fact that his hands was tied. And then the Elite came out, the Young Bucks came out to help aid Jack Perry, to help Jack Perry put the coffin on fire to end Darby Allin once and for all. Then out of nowhere, Sting came out and fought off the Elite and helped Darby Allin out that coffin to not get burned. And then the main event was for the AEW World title versus career, and Swerve Strickland defending his AEW title versus Bryan Danielson, who was putting his legendary career on the line. And because so much was at stake, this match was of a high main event value. And the match itself, when you have such top-tier talent like Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson, you're bound to have a high-quality match. The chemistry doesn't even have to be there because of the level both Danielson and Strickland wrestled at. And the match that we saw was of a high quality as well. And I'll give this match a rating of a 4.5 out of a 5. And I can consider this match as one of the best matches that I saw from all of 2024. And I could go over on all the highlight reel spots that was displayed throughout the entirety of this match. And one highlight reel moment that I could talk about is when Bryan Danielson hit the Busaiku knee on Swerve Strickland, and Swerve Strickland no-sold that Busaiku knee that took out so many legends in the past that got in there with Bryan Danielson. And I could go over a whole list of names that Bryan Daniel finished off when Bryan Danielson hit that Busaiku knee against his opponent. And Swerve Strickland got up as if it was nothing and hit a side kick onto Bryan Danielson's temple. And then Bryan Danielson also, he got pile driven onto the bell, and that's what next match on the card was for the AEW International title. Well, in this match, it was called the AEW American title. That's what this rivalry between MJF and Will Ospreay was about. UK versus USA. MJF calling it the American title. And y'all know that Will Ospreay is from the UK, and he's from London. And him actually being from London and AEW All In being hosted in London, that helped MJF get heat as a heel by calling the international title the American title, and that would get the AEW All In crowd in London to get behind Will Ospreay just that much more, because he's repping the UK and he is willing to fight for the honor and that prestige and that pureness of that title called the international title. And MJF, who's making it about America and him downplaying the UK and him changing the title name, that loses the prestigiousness, that takes out the pureness of the international title, and that diminishes the legacy, the legitimacy of the international title. And that is a typical heel move on the part of MJF. And MJF is one of the best workers in all of pro wrestling overall when it comes to his mic skills. His in-ring ability is underrated because of his ability to talk, as well as his ability to have the crowd involved in whatever he is a part of. And he knows how to work the crowd. He knows how to wrestle. And his charisma outshines his wrestling ability. And when you get in there with a top-tier talent like Will Ospreay, you're bound to have a high-quality match. And when MJF wrestled Will Ospreay, with both talent being top-tier talent, we saw one of the best matches produced from the year 2024. And I'll give this match a rating of a 4 out of a 5. And there was a lot of highlight reel spots that was displayed in this match. MJF, he uses the Canadian Destroyer very often nowadays. Y'all know that MJF took some time off, and MJF, from that hiatus, he added more maneuvers, more arsenals to his skills, and he got to put that on display versus one of the best wrestlers in wrestling today, a top-tier talent like Will Ospreay. And this match was good. It had a good back-and-forth action. The pace was good as well. And Danny Garcia also got involved in this match as well, helping aid MJF. And even though MJF had Danny Garcia help him, Will Ospreay still got the win and regained the AEW International title. Busted open Bryan Danielson, and Bryan Danielson, how he won this match. As I said, this match, y'all should go check out clips from this match. If y'all haven't seen footages, I suggest that y'all go watch the entire match. If y'all didn't see no footages of this match, I suggest y'all do, because this was one of the best pure classic wrestling matches that I've seen produced out of AEW. And as I said, arguably the best match thus far throughout the calendar year of 2024. And Bryan Danielson, how he won this match was a good way. And I say that because it wasn't no better ways of how Bryan Danielson could have won this match. He first locked in that label lock on the Swerve Strickland, and then he would transform that hold to a regal stretch. And when he locked on the regal stretch onto Swerve Strickland would tap out. And that was the perfect way to close out the show and to end this match, because All In was held at London, England. And I know William Regal is from Blackpool and not London. And All In was hosted in London, not Blackpool. But Regal is still from England. Hence why it was appropriate for Bryan Danielson to win this match and win the AEW World title in that manner. And for him to pay homage to his trainer, William Regal, was very well put together and choreographed by both Swerve Strickland, Bryan Danielson, and AEW and their creative team. And the perfect way to close out the show as well. And it all aligns as well. Bryan Danielson, his career was on the line. His career was begat by William Regal, helping him train to start his career. And then for him to put his career on the line to get a shot at the AEW title, even though he earned himself a shot at the AEW World title, and for him to win the AEW World title at AEW's biggest stage at All In, and win the way he won versus Swerve Strickland by putting on that regal stretch. That was the finishing move of his trainer, William Regal. And then for him to win the match that way and for All In to end that way, is no better way to close out the show. And I'll give AEW All In a overall event rating of a 7 out of a 10. It was a good wrestling show overall. It was well put together. Let's talk about AEW All Out, which was AEW's next PLE event. And the opening contest to AEW All Out was a match between MJF and Danny Garcia on an episode of AEW. Is it not Rampage? It's Dynamite. It was Dynamite, where MJF turned on Danny Garcia leading to this match, and Danny Garcia got the win. And shout out to MJF for putting over, I'm not going to say lesser talent, but that's not on the same talent level and notoriety level as MJF. Now, Will Ospreay, he's always been reputable as a elite level talent from his days in New Japan. And when he signed with AEW, he had a lot of hype to him, and he's been competing at a high level since signing with AEW. And I know Will Ospreay, he did get to challenge for the world title versus Swerve Strickland at Forbidden Doors, which was one of the best matches produced out of the year 2024 thus far. And other than that, he's been competing for a mid-card title, the international title mostly. And MJF, he's been a household name for AEW from day one. And Danny Garcia, he's nowhere on the same level as an MJF or Will Ospreay, but he is a workhorse. So it was a good look for Garcia to get a win over on MJF at All Out. A career-defining moment for sure. And Danny Garcia, he has been a workhorse that's been working at a high level when it comes to the mid-cards for a long time now. Ever since he joined forces with Chris Jericho, with JAS, and he got to be in a rivalry with Jericho and get involved in high-level matches with important storylines as well when he was a part of JAS, and for him to get a win over on MJF and in a high caliber match as well was definitely a good look. And I'll give that match between MJF and Garcia a match rating of a 3.5 out of a 5. Then the next match on the card we saw was a fatal four-way match for the AEW Continental title. Okada defending his Continental title versus Takeshita, Cassidy, and Mark Briscoe. And this match, I'll give a rating of a 3 out of a 5. All four wrestlers are reputable wrestlers that wrestle at a top-tier level, and they are all high-level talent that can all go. And Okada was successful in defense of his Continental title. The match itself, as I said, if it got a 3 out of a 5, it was a good match with decent back and forth action. And then moving on. And the next match on the card we saw was for the AEW Tag Team titles. BCC, Wheeler Yuta, and Casanoli defending their AEW Tag Team titles versus the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks got the win and captured the AEW Tag Team titles once again. And I'll give this match a rating of a 3 out of a 5. It was mediocre. I was expecting a better match to be produced out of these two teams because of their reputation of being able to wrestle at such a high level. But this wasn't a bad look because AEW has been criticized for not organizing their matches very well, because AEW, they tend to let their wrestlers put on matches where they try to do too much, and when they don't choreograph their matches very well, it tends to get messy, and they tend to look to outshine each other too much, and they look to fit in too many highlight reel spots when there isn't enough time slot for that specific match. So it wasn't a bad thing, but I was expecting a better match out of these two teams. And I'm saying, as far as the rating goes, what was the point of giving the title to BCC if they were going to lose those titles so fast? That's why I'm not giving this match that such of a high rating. And the match itself, if y'all go check out the match, it's no higher than a 3 point. And then the next match on the card we saw was a hardcore match between Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander. It's called Gimmick Chicago Street Fight, hardcore match, Chicago Street Fight, tomato. And this match, I'll give this match a rating of a 3.5 out of a 5. It was a good match. And I was going to be generous and give it a match rating of a 4 out of a 5, but that's a little too high. And I like how this match played out. It was a good back and forth action. Chris Statlander got the win after forcing Willow Nightingale to submit and tap out from a crossface with a chain wrapped around the mouth of Willow Nightingale. And the match itself, it was as advertised to be. It was a hardcore match, and that's why it's getting the proper rating of a 3.5 out of a 5. Then the next match on the card we saw was for the AEW International title. Will Ospreay defending his AEW International title versus Pac. And this match, I'll give this match a rating of a 3.5 out of a 5 as well. And Pac versus Will Ospreay, they have similar styles. They're both aerial. Will Ospreay, he's more adaptable when it comes to being more fluid in his grappling, his submission specialty, and his strong style. Pac is more aerial and high flying, and he doesn't have a reputation for being able to wrestle other styles like Will Ospreay. However, this match was competed at a high level. The quality of this match was top tier for sure. And Will Ospreay was successful in defending his AEW International title. He got the win after hitting his finisher, that hard striking elbow to the back of the neck. And that's how Will Ospreay got the win. Then the next match on the card we saw was for the TBS title. We saw Hikaru Shida watch the match between Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné at All In, because Hikaru Shida was next in line to challenge for the TBS title. And with Mercedes Moné defeating Britt Baker at All In, that meant Hikaru Shida got to challenge Mercedes Moné for the TBS title. And much like Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné, Hikaru Shida has earned herself the reputation of being a top-tier talent when it comes to female wrestling. And that's why there was so much expectation out of this match at All Out between Mercedes Moné and Hikaru Shida. And the match itself was a good match, good back and forth pace of the action that we saw from Moné and Shida. And I'll give this match a rating of a 3 out of a 5. Mercedes Moné got the win after hitting the Gory Bomb, and that's how she was successful at retaining the TBS Women's title. Then the next match on the card we saw was for the AEW World title. Bryan Danielson defending his AEW World title versus the TNT champion Jack Perry. And this match was a good match as well. Good back and forth action. I'll give this match a rating of a 3 out of a 5. Bryan Danielson got the win after hitting the Busaiku knee. And Jack Perry, he's got this new gimmick called a scapegoat. And he went out like a scapegoat. And he looked at Bryan Danielson after Bryan Danielson gave all that he could dish out onto Jack Perry. And Jack Perry was on his knee waiting for Bryan Danielson to hit the Busaiku knee. And Bryan Danielson hit the Busaiku knee to get the win to successfully defend his AEW World title. And then after Bryan Danielson successfully defended his AEW World title, Christian Cage came out, looked as if he was going to seize that opportunity along with his goons by his side to cash in his contract that he won at All In. That Casino Gauntlet match that he won at All In guaranteed him a title shot, as I had mentioned before during my review for All In. Then BCC came out in defense of Bryan Danielson, and that made Bryan Danielson happy because his pals came out, his friends came out, in his defense to make sure that Christian Cage and his minions don't attack Bryan Danielson for Christian Cage to get the AEW world title from off of Bryan Danielson. Then out of nowhere, BCC turns on Bryan Danielson. Wheeler Yuta looked hesitant, didn't get involved in attacking Bryan Danielson, but Moxley, Castagnoli, and Pac, they all attacked Bryan Danielson, turning on Bryan Danielson, now starting a feud between BCC and Bryan Danielson. Then the main event, we saw a steel cage match between Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page. I forgot to mention, Hangman Adam Page tried to get involved, attacked Prince Nana from behind, and the security guards took out Hangman Adam Page when he tried to get his hands on Swerve Strickland during the main event at All In. And y'all know that Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page had a fierce rivalry earlier this year. Not earlier this year. It was last year when they had the rivalry, and that's when Swerve Strickland was a heel and Hangman Adam Page was a babyface. Now things have turned. Swerve Strickland is the babyface and Hangman Adam Page is a heel. Y'all know during this summer that Hangman Adam Page joined forces with the Elite just to get his hands on Swerve Strickland because he wanted retribution on Swerve Strickland for what Swerve Strickland did to him during their Texas Death Match. And Swerve Strickland took out Hangman Adam Page for a while and injured him, and took out Hangman Adam Page in a brutal fashion. Then Swerve Strickland, ever since then, went on the most successful run of his career, defeated Samoa Joe at March of this year to become AEW World Champion. Then he had a long, successful reign. Then he lost that title at All In. Then Hangman Adam Page finally got a chance to get a fight versus Swerve Strickland, and he got retribution at All Out by defeating Swerve Strickland via knockout, not in a typical manner because he injected Swerve Strickland with a needle, and that had whatever potent material in it, and he shot that in the mouth of Swerve Strickland, and that got Swerve Strickland doozy. And then for the final blow, Hangman Adam Page hit Swerve Strickland over the head with a steel chair, but it was the injection that was a lethal blow to helping aid Hangman Adam Page secure the win over on Swerve Strickland at the main event of All Out. And I'll give this match a rating of a 3.5 out of a 5. And the overall PLE rating that I'll give for All Out is a 6 out of a 10. And moving on to the next topic, let's talk about WWE's next PLE that's happening tomorrow, and that's Bad Blood. I'll be giving y'all my predictions on Bad Blood. And there's 5 matches that are scheduled for Bad Blood tomorrow. The first match I'll be giving y'all my opinion on is probably going to be the main event. That's the tag team match between the Bloodline versus the former tribal chief, Roman Reigns. He's going to be teaming with Cody Rhodes to take on Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. And I'm going to be looking forward to it because we saw Jacob Fatu have his first run-in with Roman Reigns, and Fatu took out Roman Reigns like it was nothing. And because of how Fatu did Roman Reigns, although the numbers were stacked against Roman Reigns, Fatu single-handedly did most of the damage. And Fatu is a force to be reckoned with. And whenever Fatu gets involved, he always does damage and secures a win for the bloodline. And I'm wondering how this is going to play out. The match quality itself should be good. And I'm going to pick the bloodline to win this match. And it's going to be a toss-up, I'm going to say, where Cody Rhodes is going to have to defend that Universal title versus Jacob Fatu in the future, because Cody Rhodes did say he wants to face Jacob Fatu one-on-one because he's already defeated Solo Sikoa twice now. He defeated Sikoa at SummerSlam in a controversial manner because Roman Reigns got involved and he helped aid Cody Rhodes defeat Solo Sikoa, even though Sikoa had the bloodline help him out during his match versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. And if y'all saw SmackDown's debut on the USA, we saw the bloodline also get involved, attempting to help aid Solo Sikoa defeat Cody Rhodes during their match. And then Roman Reigns helped out Cody Rhodes to even out the odds versus the bloodline. And then that's what secured the win for Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa. And then the next match I'm going to be giving y'all my predictions on is a Hell in a Cell match between Punk and Drew McIntyre. This match is, I'm going to say, a 50-50 of a match. They're 1 wins apiece, and I'm going to pick... It could go either ways, man. I don't know who's going to win this match, but this should be the final chapter to that rivalry. And I'm going to pick Drew McIntyre to win this match. I'm not going to be surprised on whoever wins this match. If Punk wins this match, I won't be surprised. If McIntyre wins this match, I won't be surprised. But expect not only the main event to steal the show, but expect this match to be up there as the best match, if not the second best match. Then the next match I'll be giving y'all my predictions on is the next match I'll be giving y'all my predictions on is the match between Damian Priest and Finn Balor. And I'm going to predict that Finn Balor is going to win this match via a controversial manner. And I'm going to say that because I think the Judgment Day is going to help Finn Balor win this match. And then Damian Priest is going to win the overall rivalry, and he's going to defeat Finn Balor at the end. But I think this rivalry between the Judgment Day and Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest is going to go on till the end of this year. Hence why I'm going to pick and predict that Finn Balor is going to win tomorrow. And the final match that is listed for Bad Blood tomorrow is for the women's title. Nia Jax defending her women's title yet again versus Bayley. And we saw Nia Jax defeat Bayley at SummerSlam to become women's champion. And this is Bayley's second shot at the women's title, and I'm going to confidently pick Nia Jax to come out on top and defeat Bayley to defend her women's title in success. And that's my predictions for the preview for Bad Blood tomorrow. And I forgot to mention and give y'all my predictions on who's going to win the main event between the Bloodline and Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. It's obvious. I think most educated wrestling fans can predict that the Bloodline is going to win that match tomorrow. And that's it for the preview for tomorrow's Bad Blood. Oh yeah, one more thing. I want to say congratulations. Shout out to Jey Uso for his first singles title win and his first solo title win. Y'all know he went solo for the first time ever, separating himself from the Bloodline and no longer teaming with his brother Jimmy, and he's not a part of a team anymore. He went independent, and he's been on a title chase since 2020. He was one of the first challengers to Roman Reigns' beginning as the Universal Champion. And ever since then, ever since 2020, Jey Uso has been on a title hunt, and he finally got to capture one this past Monday when he defeated Braun Breaker to become the new Intercontinental Champion. For him to have a prestigious title, a legendary title like the Intercontinental Champion as his first singles title, this is a good look. I'm looking forward to seeing what Jey Uso can do as a singles champion. He holds the mid-card title, the IC title, and he's already proven that he could compete at a top level when he got to challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal title on multiple occasions. When he battled Roman Reigns in 2020, and when he battled Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, he would have defeated Roman Reigns if it wasn't for his twin brother Jimmy, but that's neither here or there. Now that Jey is the new Intercontinental Champion, I dare say I would have liked to see Braun Breaker have a lengthy title reign, but that's also neither here or there. Jey Uso got the deserving win that he very much well deserves, and he's got the crowd support. He's got the ability to talk and ability to wrestle as a championship material wrestler. And that's all I gotta say, man. Congratulations to Jey Uso. Shout out to Jey Uso. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. And that does it for this episode of Talk Wrestling. If y'all enjoy this content, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, click the share button. And if y'all want, y'all could go click the links in the description to show y'all support for this channel. Anything will be appreciated. And be good, y'all. Peace.